So when I read, I not only get headaches, but I feel absolutely, exhausted, absolutely wiped. Okay. Now this person has been off work also for, I think about a year now, or maybe even longer. And so there's been a lot of, we'll say like inactivity in a way, because it's like when you're not working, you don't have that, you're not constantly using your brain on an ongoing basis. You do a lot of like, rest and things like that generally is the advice that you get. So you're not using your brain. So we have to think about this in two different ways. Well, there's probably more than two different ways, but here's the two ways that I find I most frequently think about this is think about it as if you're out of shape. So we have to think of this almost like a deconditioning. So you have a cognitive deconditioning. You now have been told to avoid work, avoid school, avoid cognitive activity. Anything that increases your symptoms is somehow thought to be bad. Okay, that's old school thinking, and unfortunately many healthcare providers are still putting out this falsehood that you can actually do damage by looking at a screen. It's not true. It's never been proven in any type of scientific evidence, and in fact a lot of evidence now is coming out showing that rest beyond a 2 to 3 day period is actually detrimental for you. So, and the reason is this, is because when you pull back, you actually become deconditioned. When you're not using your brain on a daily basis, you're not scheduling things, you're not answering emails, you're not talking on the phone, you're not doing math problems, you're not doing all this stuff. Then all of a sudden, a month or two later, you try to get back into it. Well, now if it's at work, you're out of the conversations at work, you're out of the loop at work, you don't know what projects are going on, you don't know where you fit in, you're trying to kind of jump in halfway and try to figure it all out, and you don't know where it is. So then you feel like you're confused. You feel like you don't know what's going on, you feel lost, you feel like you don't know how to do your own job. Same thing with school. You fall behind a couple math units trying to catch up to everything because everything's built on itself now, and now you don't know where you're at. So now think about this as a potential deconditioning thing. The example that I frequently use to explain this or describe this to patients is physical fitness. If I were to go to the gym and I haven't been to the gym in 2 to 3 months, and I try to load the bar up and do exactly what I used to do, right? I go down, well, I used to be able to lift, this. So I go and I lift it. I used to be able to do 3 sets of 12 at, 175 pounds. So I'm going to load that up and do that again. Well, when I go to do that, I may get to 6 reps, and then I go, oh my God, am I ever going to think that like, oh my God, I'm damaged or, anything like that? Well, no, I'm deconditioned. I've lost strength, and it can happen very quickly. So now the next day after my first workout in months, am I going to be sore? Am I going to be beat up? Am I going to feel like crap? Am I going to feel exhausted? Well, yeah. So it's the same thing now when people go from doing nothing for 3 months, try to jump back into work, feel that they're lost and confused and can't cope and get symptomatic with work, and then the next day feel drained, exhausted, etc. It's like you jumped into the same workout you used to do, and now you're upset or shocked that it was tough. That's kind of how this stuff goes, right? So when I'm getting back into the gym, I'm not going to load up 175 pounds and try to do 3 sets of 12. I'm going to maybe put 100 pounds on it and start there, okay? And I'm going to build myself up to what I used to be able to do. The other example of this is an easy one to get. I am not a runner. Look at my body. I am not a runner. I can't run. I can lift weights. I can't run. I mean, I can run, but I'm just not very good at it. So if I were to say tomorrow, I'm going to go run a marathon, I would literally get 1/5 of the way through a marathon, probably even less, and collapse dead. Okay? But if I made the goal of a marathon in a year, and I started myself at a 3K pace, and then up to a 5K, and then eventually got myself to running 10K, and then got myself up to a half marathon, and kept building, I could eventually run that marathon. Am I going to be sore after my first 3K? Probably. Am I going to be winded? Hell yeah. Is it going to be hard? Yep. But eventually it won't be hard anymore. And then I can do my 5K. Am I going to be sore after the first time I up my kilometers? Yep. Is it going to suck the next day? Yep. Am I going to have... I'm going to walk like Frankenstein for 2 or 3 days after? Yep. Okay. But if my reaction was to say, oh, 3K, I felt I was really winded and I was really sore the next day, so now I'm not going to do 3K anymore, I'm actually going to start with 1K and I'm going to pull myself back. That's what a lot of concussion patients do. Oh, that gave me a headache, I'm not doing that anymore. Oh, that made me feel dizzy, I'm going to come back here. You can never get better by doing less, right? I can't get myself back up to 175 on the bench press, or let's say a 300-pound squat, if every time I do squats and I get sore or I feel exhausted after my workout, that I actually lower my weight, because then I'm down to lifting nothing. I'm never going to get to be able to go back to a full day of work if every time I go in for an hour, I say, well, an hour was too much, I'm only going to do 20 minutes tomorrow. Well, 20 minutes was tough, I'm only going to do 5 minutes tomorrow. You're pulling yourself back from activity, and where you should be actually pushing yourself forward. And I'm not saying to go crazy. I'm not saying jump in both feet, try to do full days of work. No, you have to find your 3K. You have to find your 3K. The goal, full time back at work or full cognitive load or whatever your goal may be, consider that your marathon and put that in the future and work your way back to do steps today to get yourself there in a period of time. If you try to go out and run the marathon tomorrow, you will fail. But if you start with the 3K tomorrow, you will be sore. It will kind of suck. You will have symptoms, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of symptom increase. In fact, it's actually possibly beneficial for you to do that, okay? Pulling back from symptoms, and I have these patients come in and be like, I'm on this point system, I'm only allowed to do this much points and this much activity every day. That is completely holding you back from any type of progress whatsoever. You have to find out what your threshold is and then push that barrier slightly every single time, right? I find out where my exhaustion point is and I try to do one more rep, right? I try to do 100 more meters on my run, and eventually that starts to increase my growth over time. Okay, so when you're talking about neurofatigue, are you suffering neurofatigue because of some sort of brain impairment, or are you suffering neurofatigue from simply being deconditioned because you haven't really been using your brain as you used to, and now you're trying to go and do the activities you used to be able to do, hang out with friends, social situations, etc., and you feel that you can't, or you get symptom increase? Well, you have to start slow and build up to that, okay?